Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in, and in today's video I'd like to cover a topic that I feel the anime has missed, or we have missed, right? We've overlooked some things, and I think there's some key nuggets that we can actually extract from the anime, episode 7 in particular. Now I know the anime has index. It's a real bummer. It's a real bummer. Truly it is. We know who the mastermind is behind Klein's coincidences. It's I think his name is Azik, right? I think that's how you pronounce his name. If I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, please help me down in the comment section below. But I think I'm sticking with Azik, right? So what is the topic that we're covering today? Well, that would be, what is Klein's destiny, right? Through the entirety of the episodes that have aired, I think there has been some subtle key points that point towards what is Klein's destiny, but I feel we've overlooked it, right? We haven't really answered it. Think about it. In episode 7, Mr. Azik revealed to Klein that, hey, your fate is disharmonious. And what does that mean, basically, right? Well, how I see it is that Klein had two fates attached to him, one being false, right, and the other one being his natural own. We already understand what the false one represents. It represents all the coincidences created by Inzik Zagwell. But what about his natural own, right? Watching all the episodes has made it quite difficult to identify, locate, and see a reflection of destiny, or where it even begins. That's what we're covering in today's topic, to see if we can actually find any reflection, any real evidence of Klein's destiny. So I'd like to point out two things, right? There are two laws that I think will help us understand and grasp Klein's destiny. Law number 1 is the law of beyonder characteristics and indestructibility. Let me say that again. Law of beyonder characteristics indestructibility, right? It's a law that governs the path to the divine, right? So when a beyonder dies, their extraordinary material originally used by that beyonder will precipitate, leaving beyonder characteristics, right, with their natural imprint, regardless of their sequence level. That's what you see with Bieber's corpse and the cloud agent Klein shot dead in episode 3, right? When you see it in this cutscene. And the second law is the law of beyonder characteristics convergence. High sequence items of the same pathway or group every now and again, right, and unconsciously draw low and mid sequence beyonders to them. So I think those are the two laws that I'm going to focus on to help us answer what is Klein's destiny. So I think, I'm realizing I'm gonna keep using the words fate and destiny interchangeably. That I think we need to define them for clarity's sake, right? To be able to understand the scope of it. So a universal truth about the two is that fate is a fixed thing, right? And you can correct me on this. Fate is like an unchangeable path or outcome that happens regardless of one's choices, while destiny is a predetermined future that can be reached through free will and a series of conscious decisions. You can also think of it in another way, right? Fate is an inevitable end, while destiny is a predetermined destination, but your choices, your free will, determine the path, how you will get there. So I think that's good enough, right? Can we all agree on that definition? I think it suffices. I think we're cool with that. So anyway, since destiny involves predetermined events or plans, we know what to look for when reviewing the episode. In episode 7, Klein does indeed find clues or evidence that blur the line between, did I make this choice out of free will, or was I somehow influenced into making these life-changing decisions? Now you see, some of these predetermined events Klein sees stretches back for more than 1,000 years into the past. 1,000 years! Like, damn. Like, for me, that's impossible to imagine, right? But for Klein, he sees it. Like, can you even imagine that? Like, imagine this, right? You're making what feels like a small decision today. Let's say you choose to start a YouTube channel. Now, picture you come across an old diary somewhere, somehow, right, from 1,000 years ago, and it casually mentions the exact date in the future you will upload your very first video, and talks about the same subjects you cover, right? If the topic was about herbs and plants, right, same subject, but you might just put your own spin to it. Suddenly, what feels like your choice starts to look like it was written long before you were even born. That's the kind of terrifying realization Klein faces in episode 7. Now, of course, what's happening to Klein isn't so spelled out like my example. Klein is, of course, his is of course like a silent influence, right? So silent, he can't confirm if he was 100% influenced or was his choice that he made 100% his own. So I think enough hype. Let's get into the nitty gritty. So the episode titled Coincidence, the story is plausible. It's Monday, which means a trout gathering, right? And we love those. They bring another round of pages of the Rossall diary. This again satisfying their long-term mission commissioned by Mr. Fool. And on it, we already know Rossall likes to write down the happenings in his day-to-day life. So they vary from mundane to interesting to serious, and some very serious. But the diary, right, brought in today are mundane, if I can say so, but they are serious to Klein because they allude to possible influenced life-altering choices Klein made, life-altering choices that map his destiny. And it's like an interesting thing because some of these diary entries, right, they can be mundane, but to the reader, right, they can actually be something different. So the first evidence, written on July the 14th, Rossall says the mysterious leader Zaratul of the secretive organization, the Secret Order, had come to visit him after learning he had become a Sequence 7 of the 7th Pathway. Now, out of interest, Rossall also asked him, like, what pathway are you from? Zaratul answered, he's from the Seer pathway. And then from there on, they went down to business. You see, Zaratul requested Rossall's help in stealing an Antigonus relic. And after working some serious brain matter, Klein thought maybe that relic, right, could it be the Antigonus family notebook? From here, Klein definitely ups his attention, his attentiveness and vigilance, because it was only earlier in the episode that he was assigned to watch the China's Gate, and wouldn't you know it, right, something did happen. It's widely believed that it's rare for the China's Gate to be opened from the inside. You see, that chamber of danger was opened on the inside, right, by one of the sealed artifacts, the Misfortune Cloth Puppet. I think that's the name. Now, like I said, the way the chamber was opened was not natural. They all agree that such action could only be possible if something was recently added to the China's Gate. And you see, they guess. The Antigonus family notebook. Now, let's loop back to the point Klein is reading the diary entries. What's going through Klein's mind right now, right? It is thinking. Well, my perspective is that it goes something along the lines of, you know, like, man, I had the bejeebies scared out of me earlier today when that gate opened. Even my colleagues suspected that I had been replaced. We were supposed to be done with the book. Like, it was sealed, gone, out of my life. But this book is becoming a recurring issue. According to these diary entries, that mysterious Zaratul wanted to steal an Antigonus relic. Likely, that book. Remember, when you watch episode 5, right, Klein and Dun demonstrate they have read the dossier on multiple secret organizations. That's why they could quickly identify the characteristics of the demoness sect. What happened in episode 5, right, with the hero Triss, I think. Yeah. You know, they used the dossiers to confirm the characteristics of secret organizations. Like, for example, what did they say about the demoness sect? They said they were chaotic, right? They like to spread misery, disasters, plagues, something along those lines. So the point is, every Nighthawk needs to make themselves familiar with the dossier. Thus, it's not a mystery how the Nighthawks, and Klein for that matter, traced the Antigenesis notebook to its origins, right? It did belong to the secret order. Then they lost it. That's what set this whole train in motion. Like this whole Antigenesis notebook incident from episode 1 is because they lost it. Now, trust me, people, there's a lot more to say on how they dropped the ball and lost the book in the first place, but I think this short version suffices for our deep dive. So after his reading session came to an end, right, and they entered a free exchange, right? I think you guys know what the free exchange is when it comes to these short club gatherings, right? And leveraging his god persona, he requested any information regarding the history of the Antigenesis family. And Mr. Henming, willingly wanting to answer to score some points here, says what he knows. He says the origin of the Antigenesis family, right, can be traced back to the third epoch, called the cataclysmic epoch. And also during the fourth epoch, the age of the gods, the Antigenesis family supported the establishment of the Tudor Empire. But their history, right, came to a miserable end during the late ages of the fourth epoch. Why? Well, because they were destroyed by the goddess of misfortune and horror, none other than the Ebonite goddess. That's crazy, right? When I saw this, that's crazy. Like, truly interesting. Like a goddess wiping out a family, like a long-standing dynasty. Yes, crazy, man. Like, if she wiped out the family, how do they currently live in society? Are they like persecuted or like shunned? Like, do they know much of the history that has been wiped out? Like, how much do they remember? And do they feel vengeful towards the Ebonite goddess and by extension the Ebonite church? For example, if Ray Bieber, right, if he was successful in absorbing that book's power, what would he have done? Sometimes I think he would have enacted revenge on them. That's like how I feel, if he had the power. And it's crazy interesting because, like, are these people considered the enemies of the Ebonite church? It's truly something to wonder about. So, after dismissing the Trop Club members after their whole free session, Klein targets the cases he most suspected were cases involving coincidences. So, the first case was the kidnapping case that happened in episode 2. Turns out, what should have been a simple kidnapping case turned into a case leading to clues involving that Antigenesis notebook. What's surprising is that notebook was lost for days, no evidence whatsoever, right? A room inside the hideout triggered Klein's spirituality, and after interpreting what that meant, it meant that the original Klein had been there in the kidnappers' hideout, which then leads to identifying the owner of the building, which inevitably identifies Bieber as the person in possession of that book, and his possible connection to the Antigenesis family, right? Like he's a descendant of theirs. The first case might not scream dubious coincidence enough. So then let's go to the second case. You see, the second case was why Bieber didn't decide to flee Tenjin in a hurry. Why did he decide to absorb the power of the Antigenesis notebook in Tenjin? He was like ahead of the police investigation, so why not skip town and find a suitable location? You see, this error in judgment resulted in the Nighthawks catching up with the investigation and him as well. And in the words of Klein, right, he said, no. Common sense was missing in the scenario. Something isn't right here. But you see, he let it go. And then the third case, right, that he's investigating was the case involving Selena, right? I think it was in episode 4. Yes, I think it was in episode 4. It was on a Monday. Klein saw both Elizabeth and Selena at the Divination Club, and he saw Vincent Hanna's hand personally the mirror to Selena. Now what's confusing is that Selena only decided to use the mirror on the Sunday of her birthday, which then Klein, a beyonder, just happened upon, right, discovering the supernatural or the paranormal activity. I mean, she had the magic mirror, like, and if if you're a normal person, you like to experiment with the thing you've just gotten. Why would you wait a whole week till your birthday party to start using it? Can't you like test the thing during the week, test like how it works until the time you show your friends? Truly weird, strange, in fact. It's really strange. Now, having heard those cases, right, and breaking it down, are you convinced there are dubious coincidences here? Like, have some of you noticed any glimpse or touch of Klein's destiny? You can tell me, like, like, have you? In the words of Azik, right, Mr. Azik, he quoted a quote from Rossall. He said, and I quote, "As Rossall once said, a single coincidence is encountered by anyone. Twice is still normal. Thrice is when one should consider what internal factors are influencing their circumstances or coincidences." And if not, like, if you haven't seen through it, right, don't worry. There's still more to deep dive in. So we are proud. I mean, we are definitely proud because, true to his status as a seer, right, he did divine if the cases had any elements of manipulation as he encountered them on the spot. Like, if that's not a true seer, I don't know what is. Like, being able to just feel that something's wrong and then you just divine it on the spot. I mean, Klein is a goat. Definitely a goat. True seer, in fact. Anyway, it was only through his familiarity with Mr. Azik that he gave his conjectures now a second look again. But this time, what he's gonna do is he's gonna include the powers of the Grey Fog for a thorough look over again. So you see, he divines the cause behind the kidnapping case. Shockingly, there are results, but not the ones you expect. Remember, if this was an ordinary kidnapping case, right, then the kidnappers would have appeared in the dream divination. And since they did not appear, and the real cause also didn't make itself visible, even with the powers of the Grey Fog, mind you, this means strong interference. And it also tells you something, that someone is behind these things, someone is doing these things. And interestingly, right, since the dream divination didn't bring a direct answer to the divination, it made up for it by showing clues around the subject, right, the cause. It showed again the Antigonus book to Klein, and Klein, interpreting the purpose here of the showing in the dream, is the mastermind manufactured the kidnapping case of Elliot to lead Klein to the clues about the book. Like, I feel like some of you are under the impression that the kidnappers have a link to the book, or perhaps they worked for Bieber once in the past, and since they were in the same building. Nah. You see, Leonard said it himself, right, that the client that brought us the kidnapping case was a previous client of theirs, even before Klein joined the Nighthawks, right? So Inzi used a previous client's son as bait, and then interpreted Klein anew beyond a member would inevitably be sent on his first mission. So why not hijack Klein's first mission, right, and set it up as a kidnapping one? Truly interesting, truly bold of him to do that. And Klein divines the last two cases. This time they literally turn over 0 results. Now Klein gets frustrated over this, right, because he feels it's a problem with his power, right? He's not powerful enough. That's why the clues have stopped, right? So he needs to prioritize advancing. So for his last divination, he divined clues about the clown potion formula. Remember, clown is the next sequence in the seer pathway, right? Results indicate there are 3 possibilities where he can find clues. The first is the brain matter from Bieber's corpse, and from the clown potion, from the clown agent Klein shot dead in episode 3. And then the second clue refers to the Antigonus family notebook. And then the third points to a new face, right? A new face named Cyrus Arapis. So the next day, Klein came to the Divination Club intending to ask Angelica, the receptionist, about Cyrus. After all, After all, Cyrus did appear in the dream divination with Vincent, so the most likely candidate to know about them would be Angelica. Now, Klein entered the club, right, and a new client was there to see him. The client and her family invested a sizable amount of their family wealth into a scam run and orchestrated by a scam artist named Linvis. Now, apparently, the scam was a type of investment, right, into an iron mine project at the Hernicus mountain range. And you see that word, Hernicus, that name appears again. And honestly, at this point, that name appears as a trigger word for Klein and the viewers. Unfortunately, Klein will be unable to help a client who doesn't have any belongings of Linvis to use as a medium or a means to track him down mystically. Unfortunately, man. The clients leave despondently. Anyway, Klein resumes with his mission to investigate Cyrus. Angelica informs him that she has seen this person with Vincent, but she doesn't know much as Cyrus rarely visits the club. However, she does remember a discussion she overheard between Vincent and Cyrus. It was about research on the ruins of the Hernicus mountain range. Since they were investigating the ruins, Klein got the idea to explore where they might have gotten the research about the ruins. The library. So Klein makes his way to the library. Klein, requested the records from the librarian, searching for clues on who took books related to the Hernicus mountain range. Rewarded for his perseverance and deductive reasoning, Klein does find suspicious names in the records, Linvis and Cyrus. So you see, Klein makes a thoughtful analysis, right? Since they did run a scam about the Hernicus mountain range, right? That investment scam, they needed to do thorough research on the ruins. So Klein's deductive reasoning is out of this world, but anyway, Klein continues his momentum, right? Next, he wants to directly vet the books they borrowed. Now, at this moment, Klein's coincidence radar detection goes off full blast. Cyrus, the man he was searching for, is in the same building as him. So close, in fact, he's right next door to Klein. Klein can't believe the coincidences this time, nor could I. So, skipping to the part where Klein took down Cyrus, Klein focuses on his purpose, which is to find clues about the clown potion formula. Now, using Cyrus's spirit to search for the formula, unfortunately here when I saw this, I'm not sure if Klein was successful, but the dream crumbled and the Nighthawks, Dune and Leonard appeared, and Leonard says something interesting that grabs my attention, but Klein takes it as mocking. Leonard says, Klein, you seem to have a destined connection with these evil forces. Boom! Full stop. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Now, for me, it's not precise enough or focused enough, but I think what Leonard said is a start to what we have been searching for. Our mission is halfway done, right? Now, it's time to look into these destined connections. So, on Cyrus's body, right, in his breast pocket, they find letters. The first letters mention Mr. Z and discoveries from investigating the Antigonus notebook, which its mentions include seer, apprentice, and clown potion formula. We can see this as a connection, right? Let's tick that off. So you see, the next thing is Klein quickly defends himself, saying that he just got the clown potion formula from Cyrus's physics. Since I think it was the way Dune and Leonard were looking at Klein, that's why he defended himself. But anyway, we can also take this as a connection, so we'll tick that off. And the last letter was it was a doomsday declaration, so I think we can skip this for now in this video. Anyway, Klein returned to the Grey Fog that same day, and props to him, because this far into the series, I think Klein shows growth when using the Grey Fog. Because Klein, right, the Grey Fog to Klein in the past has just acted as something that was with him all the time. He never really took it seriously. As far as he could use it, he only used it as a gathering, right, as a place to host the trot gathering. But now, as you can see, that the danger levels in real life is continuing to grow and grow and grow. I think he's starting to use the Grey Folk, and I think he's starting to see the benefits of it. It is a high form of power. It is a high form of power that can actually remove any interferences that he wants to divine on. He thinks on a completely different level than before, you know. But anyway, the day it was indeed strange. Klein saw this as well. So many things happened that Klein is starting to suspect that today's coincidences might mean more than dubious coincidences compared to previous cases he investigated. And right then, Klein makes a connection. Perhaps it's a destined connection rather than the mastermind behind the scenes. I mean, Cyrus got the clown potion formula, and he said he got it from investigating the Antigonus notebook. So now Klein is sure that the notebook is connected to the seer pathway. He confirms it, which coincides with the diary entries he had read. Zaratul wanted to steal an Antigonus relic, and Klein confirms that the Secret Order had the notebook but lost the damn thing, setting off the whole train wreck from episode 1. Klein says something interesting in the novel that they didn't include in the anime. Are the Secret Order and the Antigonus family friends, since it looks like they both hold onto pieces of the seer pathway? No. Since only enemies would know each other better than friends, right? The Secret Order lost the book, which inevitably led to the original Klein to shoot himself to death. And then Xiao Mingri, I think I'm saying his name correctly, transmigrated into Klein's body. And then under Rossall's influence on the level like Klein trusted this senior transmigrator's words about the seer pathway being the best choice, right? The best pathway. So Klein chose seer. And Rossall's influence, right? His regret not choosing seer came from Zaratul, who is the leader of the Secret Order. You see, it's like a cycle that's going on here. And another thing, since Bieber is dead, the notebook tried to communicate with Klein from what happened right with the Chainer's Gate incidents, likely telling Klein to go for the treasure at the peak of the Hernicus mountain range. So my verdict, people, my verdict on Klein's destiny, I proclaim it's linked to the seer pathway. I proclaim it's linked to the seer pathway. I'll just repeat the two laws that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Law 1, the law of beyond the characteristics indestructibility. Law 2, the law of beyond the characteristics conversions. Granted, there are other laws governing the paths of the vine. He doesn't know it yet, but he has stumbled upon these two laws that govern the pathways of the divine. So, thank you guys for listening. And what do you guys think? Did I overlook some coincidences, or am I awarding credit for some coincidences to the wrong manipulator? Like, was it Insi who made Klein join the Nighthawks and got him to drink the seer potion? I was in a dispute some time ago, right? And I boldly declared Klein is pulled to things related to the seer pathway, regardless if it's safe or if it leads him to danger. There's no interference that will actually guard Klein from any dangers related to the seer pathway. So let's meet in the comment section below and have a discussion.